I look to my left, donkey. I look to my right, donkey. They can't stop me, they can only hope to slow me down. I am uncorrupt. I feel stupid every time I say that out loud, but if you're gonna play video games, you gotta have a video game name. Oh, man. If you're gonna play video games, you gotta have a video game name. Hope you guys are doing well today. I'm in a good mood, which is a good sign. And first thing I like to do on Monday is I open up my quests here. So I kind of blew it a little bit yesterday. I didn't actually finish a quest, so I lost out on some experience here, which means I potentially lost out on some gold. So I'm going to have to make sure that I knock this out today. But first thing I like to do is actually get rid of Tavern Brawl, Arena, Battlegrounds, and Duels, because I don't really enjoy those modes. Spend 500 mana, easy. Hey Johnny, nice to see you there, brother. Eric, going good, man. Glad to see you too. Appreciate you guys stopping by, even if it's only for just a couple of minutes. Definitely makes this more enjoyable for me. Yo, Uncorrupt, hope you're doing well. Live streams have been awesome to check out, so I gave a shout out on social media for others to check out your channel. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much for that, man. That's awesome. Glad you enjoy it. Donkeys everywhere. Man, they're everywhere. Think about what we saw yesterday. I don't know if you guys were here or maybe you had the chance to check out the VOD, but what did we see? We saw Renathal decks, donkeys. We saw Jackpot Rogues. We saw a Renathal Jackpot Rogue. We saw people playing Blood Death Knight. Oh my gosh. So anyway, I'm going to have to herd the donkeys so that we can get to where we're going, but it shouldn't be an issue. It's just a matter of time. And it's been a little bit enlightening, I think, for me, because it's been a while since I've had the 10x bonus, and it really is a grind. If you're only getting 1 star at a time from Diamond 5 to Legend, it's a grind, and it's just a matter of playing the games. You know, I already knew that, I've said it, but experiencing it again kind of gives me a fresh reminder. You just got to keep jamming the play button. Hit play, hit play, hit play. So I think we've already taken care of a little bit of business here. And we're going to continue the climb. So I didn't play it all after the stream yesterday. Haven't played it all yet today. Take a quick look at the collection here. And to be honest, I haven't played a whole lot in the most recent patch. From what I have played, the only deck that I've been able to find success with is Undead Priest. So because it's been performing well and because I'm just interested in getting back to the rank where I was last season still, I'm going to play the good deck. And then we're going to go from there. Hey Martin, nice to see you. Glad you could make it back. Standard can be like the Wild West sometimes. I don't know, man. Were there donkeys in the Wild West? I feel like it was more like cattle and bison. Donkeys are more of like a modern age invention that kind of came along with the internet. So anyway, this is exactly the same list, and I guess I'll go ahead and throw the list in chat for anybody that may not have it or anybody that wants it. Again, this is the same deck that I've been playing. There are other versions. I kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday that are running some different cards, but this is what I've been playing. It's what I've been enjoying. It's been performing well, so I'm going to keep on jamming down with this deck. And we're headed directly out onto the ladder, so the question is, what are we facing first? Place your bets. It's a 50-50 chance that there's going to be a Renathal deck, so that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. As I take a drink of my coffee. Alright, we got a mage.
Knowledge is power. Your power.
And we're going to find out shortly whether or not they're Renathal. Surely mages are not playing Renathal. I'm going to keep the Attendant, and I'm going to keep the Mind Eater here. The other stuff's going back. We're going to hope for something a little bit better. DK, Rogue, those are good guesses. We've been seeing a lot of Death Knights. Death Knight's still really popular, and there's always a lot of Rogues out there too. People really enjoy Jackpot Rogue, even though it's not necessarily a good deck. I think with Jackpot Rogue, you just remember the high rolls, and then you're like, oh wow, I'm destroying. And then you look at your stats, and you got like a 40% win rate because your jackpots have been hitting like Demon Hunter spells. Nothing really going on here just yet. It's not Renathal, so we won the 50-50 on that one. I'm going to get the one drop in play. So one of the things that I talked about yesterday with this card is there were times when I held this card in my hand and didn't play it. And the reasoning behind that was I wanted to try to get extra value out of it. Like I wanted to have like maybe 2-3 minions on the board and then play it and punch face for the extra damage. And after looking back at it and thinking about it, I think that's actually a misplay. And I should have just been throwing it down on the board. Especially if it comes down to either play this or float mana. Say like turn 3, turn 4 is kind of the situations I remember yesterday. I think you just go ahead and get this down. I'm going to play the Mind Eater here. I think they have a really good trade with this into the Mind Eater, but they may want to just like remove here. Other option would be like play the egg and then coin out the amalgam. I don't want to amalgam this because there's no tribe on it, but I'm going to go ahead and get down the Mind Eater. Represents the most attack that we can put on the board this turn. It allows us to save the coin. And then you can see here our opponent actually makes that trade. And then they're going to get a freeze here. So good start from our opponents. And then on this turn, I think I'm going to play the amalgam here. And then likely just take a... use the coin and take a hero power. So we're on the coin. It looks like it's going to be aggro mage. This deck is much better when we're going first, and our opponent deck is also better going first. So we want to try to use the coin to be able to take some tempo away from our opponent, and this feels like a good turn to hopefully be able to do that. I think the Shadowed Spirit is pretty good here. Interestingly enough, though, I think I'm actually just going to get down the foul leg rather than coining out the hero power. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because this Death Rattle could potentially hit the egg and hatch it, and that's going to be a much bigger tempo swing than us just removing like a 2/2. Hot Dog, a mage player. Yeah, not too many mage players these days. Nice to see you, Card Sharp. Glad you could stop by. Used it for burst finish, but it's good on turn 1. Yeah, it's definitely good on turn 1. So I was holding it, say it was like turn 3 or turn 4, and I had 1 minion on the board, and I was choosing to hold that card.
No waves can sink this ship.
Just because I wanted to try to get a little bit more damage out of it. So check this out, man. This actually works for us, and it's going to deal 2 damage to everything on the board. So I don't want to play that this turn. It's also important to note that we're playing against big spell mage here, so we want to get the spells out of our hand, at least the cheap ones. We'll likely be holding on to the Shadow Word Undeath, but I'm going to go ahead and play the coin and the Undying Allies this turn. We would still have 1 turn before they could play the Barbaric Sorceress, because we know they don't have a coin. But it works out well to be able to play 2 undead minions with the Undying Allies here. So I'm going to go ahead and get these guys down. And this is actually a really nice pickup for us, just because of the way it functions with our hero power. And the question is, do we make this trade? I mean, we know they have one of these in hand. If they play it, then it would actually remove this minion, so they could go like bump and then play their card, and it would remove all of this. Just gonna go face. We're an aggro deck. We want to punch our opponent in the face, so that's what we're gonna do. And then next turn, yeah, they're actually like freezing the board here. So, and it looks like they made a value trade. So we're gonna go ahead and play the Shadow Word Undeath. And then we're just going to go ahead and play the coin that we get. And I guess we'll stick our Void Touch Attendant on the board here. But this way, if they play the Barbaric Sorceress next turn, they don't have a spell to actually hit to be able to get something cheap. So that's going to go a long way to helping us with our goal here. And hopefully one of these guys actually hits our egg. Although I haven't been very lucky with that in the past. So we'll see what we've got going on. And we actually do hit the egg, so that's good. And then we're going to play the coin, and we're going to go ahead and get this guy down. Better to go ahead and get it in play, I guess, than float the mana. We were playing the coin no matter what because we're afraid of the Barbaric Sorceress. Hey, Jon Snow. Nice to see you. Appreciate you for stopping by. It's always awesome to be able to see people in the chat.
Do you take me for an
Big Spell Mage player myself. Shadow Priest worst matchup. That's pretty interesting. So this was really good for us. I'm going to ignore the 10-10. If they don't get like cheap spells, they can't beat us. So likely next turn they're going to play. We know that they got the Drakefire Amulet, so we know they're going to play that next turn. So we definitely want to hold on to this guy because it's going to have more targets. So I think on this turn, it's just going to be get as much damage as we can. Void Touch Lieutenant's still on the board, so it's going to be this and Hero Power. And we want an Undead, which we hit. So we're going to take that, and that's actually 6 damage, which is great. And then we're just going to push face with everything else that we have. And I actually like the Hero Power here rather than playing the Banshee. This uses our mana, and the Hero Power is actually 3 damage because the Void Touch Lieutenant's on the board. So opponent's low. And it looks like they're all in on these dragons. They did hit 1 taunt. Did they hit a 2nd taunt? They didn't, so it's likely just over. I mean, anytime this thing dies, it's going to deal... And see, they have to make a trade here, too. They're going to trade the 10-10 into the 1-3. Oh, what a great trade. So we have 3, we have 5, we have 7. The Rotting Necromancer is actually just lethal if we hit an undead. I think we're playing it. We know 2 out of the 3 cards are not going to be undead, but if we take the Shadow Word Undeath, maybe that sets up lethal for next turn. Our opponent does have 24, though. And they actually just give up here. That might have been more frustration because I was taking my time with the turns. More so than they thought that they weren't going to win. They did have 24 damage on the board, so I was going to have to structure my turn in such a way that we didn't actually just die next turn. But we ended up getting there. There's more than one way to win. If you can't beat your enemy through skill, then you just beat them through attrition by being a by being a roper. So right now they're calling me a donkey. I can't believe this donkey. Rope every turn. Hard having no spells in hand. Actually, I like having no spells in hand against the big spell mage. Unless you mean it's hard for them, in which case I agree 100%. We do hit a one drop here. It's possible that our opponent's going to use the coin to kill this, which is kind of bad with the hand that we have. I want it to be on the board so that we can discover with the amalgam. But if they play the coin just to hero power and remove a Banshee, then you know, we consider that to be a small victory within the game. It's almost like our opponent is wasting the coin, which is good for us. Although it's potentially a legitimate play. And it looks like we're going to be able to curve out this game as well. So we're going to do this. And Haunting Nightmare, I mean, out of these cards, this is great. So, and the reason I say that is because this is a card we actually put in our deck on purpose. So getting it in our hand is going to be really good. And I want to go ahead and take this trade rather than go face, because they could just hero power to remove the remove that card anyway. So we're going to take the trade, and then it buffs our 4/4 here, which is good news for us. This turn is now interesting because our opponent's going to be able to freeze our minions. I think we want to just go ahead and get down the Haunting Nightmare here, so that it could potentially come out of our hand. And then now we are going face. We want to force our opponent to make these trades. We have initiative. They can go bump, and freeze our board, which is exactly what they're doing. And likely the best play or a good play from them. And then again, we just kind of want to spend mana here, so I can play the Mind Eater and ping off this 3/2. They do get the spells in hand, but that's fine. This allows us to maintain tempo. And they may actually play like double Arcane Bolt to remove the stuff that we have on board, but I think I'm okay with that. That's better than like allowing them to make this trade and then play the Arcane Bolts as well. So this particular matchup, we're just in a fight for the board because it's another board-based aggro deck. Hey Andy, it's good to see you there, brother. How are the games going? So far so good, man. We're 1-0, so significantly better start today than what we had yesterday. And our opponent actually choosing to hang on to these arcane bolts. And again here, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward turn that we can spend mana with the 4 and the 1, and we actually got a pretty favorable deal with that. We want to take the undead, and we can actually play this next turn with the Shadowed Spirit, which is going to feel pretty good. And then again, I'm just going to go face here. I'm going to force my opponents to react to this. So, you know, we could look at potentially making value trades like bump with this guy. And, you know, I feel like when you're doing things like that, you're probably setting yourself up to lose in these types of matchups. We just want to damage our opponent's face and try to push for the win here. And we hit a Deathborn. So we have a Deathborn, and we know that our opponent has a Deathborn as well. So we can play it. And then they can play theirs, but they're taking so much damage here, it's just going to be absolutely insane for us. So I can actually like bump here, Deathborn, and then we'll be able to get 4 2/2s. And then if our opponent plays Deathborn, they get 4 2/2s, but all of that damage goes face, and then these guys are able to go face. It's just so good. Okay, so we ended up getting 5 because some of our minions died here. If they play Deathborn, they take 10. And they're at 8. Yeah, they actually concede here. The way this turn worked out, though, because our minions died from the skeletons that died, I almost felt like we were actually on the ropes. If our opponent plays Deathborn, they go down to 8, but we may have actually struggled to find that damage to be able to kill him. Let's see. Any advice on how to expand your collection? You got 2 options. Really just play the game and get gold to be able to buy packs, or you got to break out the real world currency, cold hard cash. So it really just comes down to, if you don't want to spend any more money, you just have to play the game more and you know, be able to get more gold. If you're really good at Arena, you can probably get packs more quickly in Arena. If you can average, like, I think, what is it, 7 wins, you go infinite in Arena. So that your arena runs pay for themselves, plus you're getting packs and maybe even a little bit of extra gold, depending on how good you are. But it really just comes down to either play the game more or, you know, just get ready to spend cash. Usually dust cards from classes I never use, or if you have duplicate cards, those can give you extra dust value to craft the cards that you want. One of the things that I did is I took a long break from Hearthstone, and when I came back, I dusted all of my wild cards because I'm not interested in playing wild. So that's another option. If you're not interested in playing wild and those cards aren't doing you any good, you can consider dusting those. But, you know, just if you think you might want to play wild in the future, then that might not be the best option for you. But that's a good call out from Chaos there. How do I copy the deck code in the chat? On mobile, it only allows me to report or block when I press. John, I'm going to get you a link here. Usually what I do is go to the Blizzard website, and Blizzard has a deck builder. So I'll be able to copy paste that code onto the Blizzard website, and then I'll be able to copy the URL. Let's see, build a deck. It should be this deck code. And then I'm going to copy the URL, and then I'm going to post this in the chat here so that anybody that is trying to get this on mobile should be able to get it. So that link is going to take you to the Hearthstone Blizzard site, and then I think you should be able to click on the copy deck button on that website. I think that should work for mobile. If it doesn't work, let me know, because that's usually what I put in the description of my videos for a mobile link. So I might be really messing up. Let's see, I picked 5 classes to play, and dust everything else usually allows me to at least have a couple of good meta decks to play. That's a good point, and there's some people that are specialists. They only want to play 1 class. But I kind of feel for you, like in your situation, you picked 5 classes. If all 5 classes are just bad, then that's bad news. I gotta open the door. I'll be right back.
Tranda versus Darian Mograine.
The Knights of the Ebon Blade will not falter.
Death, lend me your power.
So egg isn't a keep, it's a 1-drop, but there's not as many ways to activate it in this deck, so we're tossing that. And because I don't have anything to do on turn 1 or turn 2, I'm actually going to toss the Haunting Nightmare. If I had, say like this card was like Arms Dealer, Banshee, or Void Touched Attendant, I would probably keep the 3-drop, but we really want to do something on turn 1. We hit a Death Knight here as well, and our hand is absolute trash, so it's really not looking good this game. But we'll see how it goes. We'll give it our best effort. We end up with the egg anyway. At least with this hand, we do have the location on 3, but overall, the things that we're doing just feel really weak, and we're kind of at the mercy of the top of our deck. And our opponent actually matches our egg, and their egg is active, so it's going to end up being pretty tough. Hey, you're welcome, John. I hope that works for you. Again, just let me know if it doesn't work. We're going to get down our Banshee. And I'm going to go ahead and use the Monsieur here as well. I think it goes on this guy. I mean, if they make this trade, they have a 3-3. I don't know. It doesn't line up super good for us no matter what we do, but this prevents our opponent from being able to make this trade. So they can potentially still hero power. The buff goes here. Then they can't trade. And then with the location, this could end up working pretty well for us. We'll see what they do. A lot of times this Death Knight doesn't have turn 2 plays. Okay, so they actually do it like that. And they choose to soften it up. So we could like draw cards ping and trade. If we play the location and buff here, this minion still dies, but we draw 1 card. I think I like the ping play. It's going to leave us a 3-3 on the board. We get 2 additional cards in hand. We'll see what we draw first, of course. And we actually hit the High Cultist, which is good. This card can be insane tempo for us. So I'm still just going to bump here and actually ping it off like this. So next turn, hopefully we're able to play these 2 guys, and maybe this lives, and then on turn 5 we have a High Cultist that potentially gives us back 3 minions. It's just like insane tempo if that's the way it works out. Let's see, good day Uncorrupt. Do you have any idea when the next rotation happens? I don't know a specific date, but it should be sometime in April. And I'm just going to keep to my plan here and play these guys, and then we're going face. No reason to bump that minion. We're going to need face damage to win, and then keeping in mind, this looks like Frost Decay, so at turn 7, potentially they're going to freeze our board, which locks out most of our damage. And again, if they double trade here, like, this is insane, because they have no minions on board, and we're getting ready to bring back everything with the High Cultist, with an extra attack off of this, so no need to even think about this play. It's just, like, incredibly strong. Everything's getting buffed. And now we have a 5-minion board. But yeah, the rotation usually happens in April. That's going to be the core set rotation. Blizzard will probably be releasing details on that within the coming weeks. Yeah, this is just weak. Really weak turn from our opponent here. Look, they still have no board, and we're shoving face with 11. Let's see. All these guys... 11, 13. So we actually have... This is potentially lethal, and it's a really high percentage that this is lethal. And you can see we hit it. Doesn't matter what we take, because our opponent just died. Easy. We got the 3-game win streak to start the day here. And usually it's either early April or mid-April. Just kind of get back to answer your question. I'm gonna say your name wrong, and I really hate it. If you can help me out a little bit in the chat, but Stepper? Sorry, man, that's the best I can do. But if you let me know how to pronounce it, I don't want to mispronounce anybody's name. It's actually really important to me. So if you want to help me out with that, or maybe I got lucky and got it right. Let's see. Priest, DK, and Paladin are my go-to classes. Chaos, man. What are you doing? Priest, Paladin? I don't know, man. You got different tastes than I've got. But at least you know what you focus on. Focus on what you like. Doesn't matter what I like. This way we can refund our cards. So there's not going to be any refunds unless they actually nerf cards. So the core set rotation, unless you're talking about like dusting cards that go to wild, then yeah, you could do that. That would be an option for you if you're not interested in playing wild. But you're not going to get like the full dust refund. That's only when they nerf cards.
Path has brought you here.
Hoping Hearthstone makes some hints for the next expansion this week, although wouldn't be surprised if it's next week. So yeah, it should be coming soon. Should be a lot of information coming out soon. We're tossing these guys. We're going to keep the 1-drops here. Up against Druid, likely Quest Druid, I guess. We'll find out. Ooh, double Attendant. You gotta love it. Let's see. What's the best deck to get out of gold? Honestly, the only deck that I've been having success with is actually this Undead Priest. I don't know if you can make it or not. I would say probably don't craft this deck just because so much stuff is going to rotate. Like Benedictus rotates, which is a key part of the deck. It's also a legendary, so I would say don't craft that. And also the Void Touched Attendants rotate as well. And maybe some other stuff. Not totally sure. A lot of it stays, but certainly some key cards do rotate. I'm going to use the coin here and just get on the board. I'm hoping our opponent can't deal with this. They really need like Rake and Pounce, or they would need like just one copy of the Park Panther would be good into this, but they should just be taking a ton of damage off of this. Happy to see that. And I'm almost tempted. I'm actually tempted to almost ping because this is actually 4 damage. It's just so much damage. Other option would be to play the Arms Dealer. Could even consider using the Undying Allies, but I think I want to push as much damage as I can while I have the opportunity. Plus, this just uses mana. So either play a 1-2 and float a mana, or deal 4 damage face. It seems to be a pretty easy choice, I would think. And look, they're still taking a lot of damage even by making that trade, which is good for us. And again, this is another interesting turn. Like, I know a lot of people look at aggro decks and they say that maybe aggro decks are low skill or you don't make decisions, but look at this turn. We can play the location, buff the Attendant, which potentially protects it. And then the other option would be just like play the Arms Dealer Ping. Again, that's a lot of damage. Or we have the option of playing Haunting Nightmare. I think what I'm going to do is, even buffing this to 4 health, it still dies to something like a Park Panther. So I'm going to go for the Undying Allies and Haunting Nightmare. And then when this dies, we're going to be able to get extra 4/3s on the board. And we'll take a look at next turn when it happens, but potentially we're just going for damage right here. You play Lock? I do play it sometimes. And you can see here our opponent, I think likely you make this trade and then swing into this guy. Is probably what I would do. Because otherwise, if he attacks with his hero into this, oh, he's actually going face rather than trading for this. Which is an interesting choice. So he's going to allow us to have our minion. I kind of think that's actually probably the correct play from our opponent. I think we want to punch here to get this off the board. Otherwise, it's helping our opponent like complete their quest. So we're going to do that first and see what it lands on. And because it lands on this, I mean, there's no question this is the card that we want to play. And then we're going to take the Undead. And I like the Banshee more so than the Egg here, I think. Because the Egg would still require some kind of a buff. We do have the location, but that feels a little slow. Where the Banshee is almost more of like a fire and forget kind of play for us. I do play Warlock sometimes. I'm not really into Mine Warlock or the big Warlock, so I'm not playing it right now. Just not the kind of decks that I'm interested in. To be fair, Pure Paladin is up there in the meta now. I was playing that class when the struggle was real, so I'm ecstatic it's getting some shine. Yeah, it is a good deck. I feel like Paladin a lot of times just struggles to close out games if it's not an aggro Paladin. Like the mid-range and control, excuse me, control Paladin, they don't really have finishers. I like decks that can finish the game, rather than play a game an extra like 3, 4, or 5 turns just because I have no way to be able to end it. Eric, the rotation should be sometime in April. No exact date. Have you tried Zoo Hunter? I've been climbing Diamond with it, and it's lots of fun. So I actually haven't tried it, but I played against it yesterday and lost. And I did see the list. I'm assuming it's still just the Brian Kibler list that was on Twitter a couple of days ago. Again, this feels like a straightforward turn. We're just going to go Arms Dealer, Banshee, and the location. I'm going to start with the location. And then the question is, which minion do we buff? I think I actually want to buff the 5/4, just to make it a 5/5, to make it harder to kill. It's going to give our highest damage minion the best possible chance to be able to survive. And then the question is, does this change our play at all, or are we still playing an Arms Dealer and a Banshee? Their best play is going to be Scale of Onyxia, so that would be 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we go the Arms Dealer and Banshee, it just gives us the widest possible board. And hopefully causes our opponent to struggle a little bit here. Opponent's down to 6, so things are looking fairly good here. We'll see what they do, but it feels like we should be winning this game. Yeah, so I haven't tried Zoo Hunter. I might give it a try at some point. But I think first I just want to get to Legend, so I'm playing a deck that I know I can win with. And then once I get there, I'll probably start maybe experimenting a little bit more. Yeah, I think we just won the game here. We'll see. They do still have some mana left. Maybe they have a Rake. They heal for 5. It's going to be close. First time Legend with hand buff Pally, sweet. I only own some Paladin cards, not all, just enough to play the aggro version of Pure Pally. I think I'll wait till April to see the next class to invest in. I think that's a good idea, Cax. I really do. So this is lethal right here.
Something follows.
And I actually played this yesterday. I wanted to play this like for my entire play session yesterday because I thought that Quest Druid would be good, and then it turns out that it wasn't. So you can see here, I mean, we're never going to be able to maintain a 100% win rate, but I'm climbing quickly because I'm playing a deck that I know is performing well for me. And I would also say, too, that if you're of the mindset of, hey, I want to climb and get to a better rank, this deck may not work for you. It could be based on like what your opponents are playing, what you're seeing. Maybe the deck just doesn't click with your own personal playstyle. There's nothing wrong with that. I would say if a deck's not working for you, try something different. And if it is working for you, and your main focus is just getting a better rank, just keep jamming that deck. Just keep playing it until the wheels fall off. Nice little crowd here today. Great to see. Howie, nice to see you, man. Glad you could stop by. Oh yeah, got a nice little crowd here. Appreciate everybody that's here right now. That's awesome. Can you please give a brief explanation of how to play this deck? I'm fairly new. Yeah, let me open up the deck list here. And I'll give you a quick rundown of the deck. So this is what I would call a board-based aggro deck. So most of the damage from this deck is going to be coming from minions that are on the board. So in the early game, we want to be playing those minions and most likely punching our opponent in the face. When you're playing decks like this, you want to be really careful about the trades that you're making on the board. Especially if you're going first, most likely you're going to be punching your opponent in the face. What you don't want to do is, you know, I don't ever want to trade for like my opponent's 1/1 because it's just not valuable and it's going to be a waste of damage that could be going face. So we're going to be playing minions, punching our opponent in the face. And then, you know, we have card draw in the form of grave digging as well as the location. Really, you only want to play this card draw when it's going to be 1 mana if an undead died the previous turn. And then, you know, we do have some direct damage this Mondseer, we can kill a minion and hit our opponent in the face. Important to remember, too, with this card, you can actually kill your own minion if you're, to find lethal. If yours are the only minions that have two health or less, you can punch your opponent and then use this on your own minion to get 3 face. And of course, we'll have the hero power that'll be able to go face thanks to Benedictus. And then, of course, the Shadow Word Undeath that you saw in the last game. So it's pretty straightforward. Undying Allies, I try to get maximum value out of this, whether it be with Shadowed Spirit or Haunting Nightmare, or sometimes you can get 2 minions. So kind of you just play it, I guess, when you have it in your hand to be able to get the value. But I wouldn't want to play this on like just one drop and kind of be a waste of the card here. So in the mulligan, you want 1-cost minions, so like Arms Dealer, Banshee, and Void Touch Attendant. Foul Leg is not a keep. If you keep this card in your hand in the mulligan with this deck, you've become the donkey. Don't do that. There's enough donkeys on the ladder as is. And then I would also keep Mind Eaters, and then if I have a 1-drop in hand or maybe a Mind Eater to be able to play on 2, then I would keep one of the 3-drops here. On the coin, I'd probably keep the Cultist just because of how strong it is. So that's kind of like a basic rundown of the deck. And then there are like some finer point situations, too many to really be able to get into. And that's where your own experience just playing the deck is going to come in. And then, I try to point stuff out as I'm playing the deck. Maybe some weird situations that you don't always see. Great to have you live stream, Eric. Thank you so much. Love your content. Keep it up. Face Jaeger. Thank you so much. If I mispronounce your name, get after me in the chat or in the comments again. It's important to me. I don't want to be mispronouncing people's names. I'm not keeping the Cultist on the play. I just can't, man. We've got a 1-drop, which is good, but we don't have anything else to do. I really don't think you can keep this, but it's so good when you can get back a big board. We just saw it in the Death Knight game a couple of games ago. Because of this deck, I run Silence as a mage. So one thing, Martin, that I would caution you on, running Silence is almost always like a tech card. And the question becomes... Oh, this is interesting. Our opponent, they could be Quest Hunter. The question is, which 1-drop do we play? I can play Arms Dealer, and then next turn go Egg Banshee. Or I could start with the Banshee. If for some reason they're still playing a Trog, that gives us a good trade. I'm going to start with the Arms Dealer here. It may have actually been better to play the Banshee first. I was talking too much and then I ran out of time because the turn 1 rope is so short. Unfortunate. Let's see, curious why you didn't add the 8-cost hero card in this particular deck. It's just too slow. We should be winning the game. The games that we win, you're probably going to notice it's going to be like turn 6, turn 7, turn 8. And so the hero is actually just too slow. So like imagine if we had an 8-cost card in our hand right now, it's just like a waste of space in our hand. And I'm going to go... I guess I'm still going Egg Banshee here. And I'm just going to punch face. If we make this trade, we give our opponent a 2-1. So I'm going to let our opponent make the trades. If they want to trade like this and buff something else, I think I'm fine with that. A Bloodseeker kind of tells me that this is going to be... the Shock Spitter Hunter. So we're going to need to keep in mind how much damage our opponent can actually do here. I think I want to make this trade. Normally I wouldn't do this, but it prevents the honor kill on the Bloodseeker. The other thing is, though, this gives an honor kill and this gives an honor kill. We definitely want to spend all of our mana here, so maybe we just play these guys and go face. Although if we play the Mind Eater, they can trade the Mind Eater, then they can swing with this. So maybe it's better to just play this guy. And we're going to go face, and then when they trade into this, the buff is going to land on one of these, guaranteed. We can play both next turn, and then that gets us an additional 4/3 in play. So we're just trying to overwhelm our opponent here with board presence. The way that we lose this game is if they have, like, the turn 5 Hydrolodon play. Do all 3 oldest expansions rotate out at the same time, or do they rotate 3 to 4 month intervals? I want to dust old cards before the update. So what rotates is an entire year's worth of cards. So there will be 3 expansions, and the 3 mini sets are going to rotate in April. So in April, the only thing that'll be left is last year's sets. That'll be the 2022 sets, every set that came out in 22, plus the new set that's going to be in April. If we play this now, it's actually a lot of damage that our opponent does to us next turn, if they want it. They've swung twice. They have 8 damage on board, so their Shock Spitter only deals 3. The question is, can we get away with playing both of these? Because it's going to add at least 4 damage, maybe 5 to what our opponent has. So they could deal 15. But we have a wide board. We also float a mana if that's our play. But again, I think we still have initiative, and we have the health advantage, so I think I'm just going to play like this. So basically, I'm trying to force my opponent to make the trades. And this is where you run into, if you make too many trades with an aggro deck, you just kind of lose your window to be able to win here. If our opponent thinks they can shove 15 damage face and still win, then I think it's at this point, it's just more power to him. So again, the danger here is if they have Hydralodon in hand, they played a Selective Breeder as well, so it's possible that they have Hydralodon and that we're just going to lose. In which case... Dog Biscuit. In which case, we were never going to beat Hydralodon anyway, so this gives us our best chance. Question is, what are they going to do here? So we need to kill him in 2 turns. Which is likely going to be like Doggy Biscuit and Hero Power for max damage for our turn 5, and then on turn 6, potentially we have another 7 damage. And we can draw cards, so we're going to start by drawing cards here as well. Don't really care about the 1-2, that's fine. I mean, it's just, they're not going to have enough damage to be able to kill us here. So we're going in. So we deal 7 here, we put our opponent to 6, and that means we have lethal with this guy next turn, most likely. There's a chance that we don't have an undead in the bottom 3. But I think it's like an 80% chance with this deck that you have an undead in the bottom 3. So this should work out. Perfect pronunciation on Face Jaeger, nice. Thank you so much, loving the stream. Thank you, John, glad you're here. They could put Benedictus in the core set. They do have the Hydralodon here as well. Good play from our opponent to select the Hydralodon off of the Selective Breeder as well. We were expecting it, so whether or not we win this game comes down to, do we have an undead in the bottom 3? And again, if you think about when I was talking about you don't want to make trades on the board, if we didn't go face with all that damage, we wouldn't be in a position to be able to win the game here. We would have just lost on the spot to Hydralodon. And we have a plethora of undeads. Easy! That actually moves us to 5-0. Pretty strong start today. Again, we know we're not going to win every game. We know this isn't going to continue, but we're going to enjoy it while it's happening. Pity Quest Druid isn't really reliable for climbing. I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah. It's just not good right now against what other people are playing. The meta actually feels like it's too fast. I don't know. I didn't have a good time at all with it. Felt like I couldn't really beat anything. I think I was 4-6 with the Quest Druid. They could, but I expect they'll print alternative ways to access Shadow Form. I hope so, Howie. I hope so. Not really know what they want to do. Also, we don't really know how much they're going to shake up the core set. I mean, there's a possibility that they could say, we like the core set from last year, and we're going to leave it for another year. I hope not, but I guess at this point, anything's possible. Baron Stormwind and Alterac, that's the rotating sets, yep, and the mini sets that go along with them. Curious, since Hearthstone is rotating out a year's worth of expansions, will it balance out by adding a fair amount of cards into rotation through neutral and the new expansion? They actually won't. So in April, Standard has the smallest amount of cards that it's ever going to have. I think there will be a couple of extra cards now compared to like last year just because they added the Death Knight class. So if you add those cards in, yes, there's more cards overall because there's an extra class. But the expansion isn't any bigger, and there's not going to be, you know, anything extra. So right now we have the most standard cards that we've had in standard since they started rotating sets out of the standard rotation. But we're going to be losing 3 sets and only gaining 1 set. So there's actually going to be a lot less cards. And that's why I think you see, like, in April and May and June, that's where you see maybe potentially the strongest possible decks, because there's not as many potential answers to those decks. You usually end up with some pretty overpowered stuff, as best as I can remember. Druid was doable until about Diamond 3-2, then it really fell off. Yeah, and it depends on what you're facing. I mean, if you just don't have favorable matchups, then that's going to be the case. Let's get back into another game.
Tyrande versus Malfurion.
My beloved Tyrande.
My dear Malfurion.
And close enough.
So we're actually up against aggro Druid, and they had a really strong turn 1. So we're basically behind no matter what we do. I mean, I can take a ping and go face, or I could play the Banshee. But I mean, they go trade into this. The buff doesn't land on anything. I think I like to play better like this. I'm going to hold on to the Banshee here. I'm trying to get some car issues straightened out, man. You know, car trouble is the absolute worst when you got to have something repaired. And it looks like bad news. I've been playing Hearthstone close to a year now, so there are still things totally not familiar with. Yeah. Four set meta is pretty fun. A lot of aggro and mid-range decks tend to be viable. You don't usually see much combo. Yeah, because there's not as many tools, right? So that makes sense. What's your take on aggro mage for the legend climb? It should be good. I mean, overall aggro should be good. I think I want to play the... minion here. I mean, our opponent can, like, hit and hero power. We need to keep as few minions on the board as possible. What I'm really afraid of is the Herald of Nature and the Pride's Fury. Cards that buff the health of the board. Because we need to be able to remove them. They need to have 4 health or less to be able to remove with this. If their board gets too tall, it's just going to be a loss. Aggro Mage, I don't know, it should be okay, but I don't think I've lost to Aggro Mage with this deck. So it's probably good. Into a lot of things, but if you're seeing like a lot of Undead Priests, it could actually be a bad matchup, but it's worth trying. Ooh. And our opponent's going to have a lot of stuff that we can't remove. These aren't even going to be active because I don't think this guy's dying now.
What is it?
I mean, the good news is we can ping off the peasant. They still have a kept card, though. It feels like his stuff is getting ready to get really big, but I feel like this is a straightforward turn. We ping off the peasant because we want to try to close off as much card draw as possible. If they land the buff, I mean, we're kind of still okay because of the Shadow Word Undeath, assuming we can kill one of our undead minions here, so it could be okay. Are we also getting a new core set in April or just cards rotating? They could potentially change the core set. We don't know. They haven't made an announcement, but if they change the core set for the new year, this is going to be when they do it. Yeah, this is... Oh man, this is great. This clears their entire board, and they're almost out of cards. So that's really good for us. I feel like we just won the game with that particular play. We got tons of card draw in hand with both of these guys. Location probably doesn't get played. Feels like Location is one of the weaker cards in the deck. I mean, it's draw, it's a buff, but we don't want to necessarily be spending 3 mana on this if we can spend 3 mana on minions. I might even actually just take a trade with this guy. Just so that the card draw can be active. We'll see what our top deck is and then make a decision from there. Maybe we don't have to. If we get it like a decent top deck, we could play like 1, hero power this. I still want to try to keep the board clear because our opponent getting a board and buffing it is how we're going to lose this game. But it feels like we're in a pretty good spot, at least for the moment. Aggro Druid makes me nervous. Yeah, it makes me nervous too. Because they can play a lot of cheap cards and then land a buff. Yeah, so now it just makes sense to, we can like trade and ping. These guys will be active. So that's going to be good. Plus we're taking a card out of their hand, so it gives us a little bit of information about what they have. We can actually go ahead and play the aquatic form. And I think maybe we just take the Mind Seer here. And then we know for sure we have an undead in case we draw the second Rotting Necromancer. But we'll have the Mind Seer. And then we can Grave Dig, and the Cultist is really, really good here. So I'm going to remove this, and then we're going to play our 2 undead minions and pass it back to our opponent. So if these 2 guys die, then we just bring them back with the Cultist, and potentially they don't die, and we add additional undead minions to the board, which makes this even better when we do have to finally clear our board. So again, I feel like we're in the driver's seat here. Usually reissue a new core, but I don't know if they've announced for certain yet. Yeah, they haven't announced. I think everybody just kind of assumes that the core set is going to change. But it doesn't necessarily. I can play this and buff the Banshee. It's going to draw us a card. The Banshee still dies, but we get a card draw off of this, and it guarantees that we remove a minion. Again, I just want to remove minions. I don't know that their version of the deck is playing composting, but if it is, we don't want them to have a lot of minions on the board. So all of their cards, their best cards, require a board to be able to buff stuff, and in this way we're just removing that board. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw here. And I think, again, I just want to go wide. I'm going to put stuff on the board, so we're going to take a Discover here and play the Egg. I'm going to take the Tower Sergeant. It looks like we're going to be able to get a relatively cheap 6/6 next turn. With this particular board state, it should be guaranteed, so we have the option, if we want it, of having a 6/6 in play. When you're facing an aggro druid, take away their board quickly. Yeah, the problem is when they get their board, like if our opponent was able to stick the board and then land the buff before our turn 5 with this Shadow Word Undeath, we would have been in trouble. But fortunately, it worked out okay for us. Still undefeated, by the way. I'm probably going to have a very long losing streak to even this out, but 6-0 on the day. We take the wins where we can get them. And as I said, the donkeys can't stop me, they can only slow me down. But look at what a grind this is. We started off at, I think, Diamond 4. We've won 6 games in a row and we're only Diamond 2. Like, that's just the kind of grind that we're looking at. I'm not keeping Amalgam. I'm not keeping the Undying Allies here either. We're going to look for other stuff. Unfortunately, you never want this card in your hand. It's sad to have this in our hand because of how worthless it is, especially this early in the game. And you're almost never going to play this card. We just want it in the deck for the hero power. I think we just Mind Seer here. It's clean. I mean, if I play the Arms Dealer, they hero power and remove the Arms Dealer. I don't want to use the coin to ping. It's just a pretty straightforward turn. Yeah, this is a weak turn from our opponent here as well. So now... The hand isn't very good, though. I'm debating about whether or not I want to use the coin and get 2 minions, but I think I need to save the coin because I might need to smooth out our mana curve. So if we had different cards in hand, like if we had a 3-drop, I might actually use the coin here. But I don't want to use it because our hand is so bad, I might actually have to coin out the Benedictus. And then again here, like, I could Mind Seer and ping face, but I think I would rather just... like, get a minion in play and ping this guy. Save the Mind Seer, save the coin. Get an additional minion in play. I'm gonna do it like this. And again, like, this is really sad. Our opponent has had a very slow start, but so have we. But their late game is better because of the Frostworm's Furies. And this is actually, like, Unholy Death Knight, apparently. It makes our Shadow Word Undeath really good, though. Because we're going to be able to clear their board next turn, which is great. So now the concern is really more Marrowgar than anything else. Hit. I mean, they could remove 2 of these, but we don't really have a better play. Again, like, all of our minions are just hiding in our deck somewhere, so we're struggling. I guess I could draw cards. And then we still have, like, Coin Swarm Guard. But we definitely need an undead on the board that's going to die.
I wonder.
Let's see what we hit. Drawing cards is going to be important here. If we play this, there's no guarantee that it dies. So I'm going to play the Swarm Guard. And then the plan is going to be to Shadow Word Undeath next turn. But I feel like we're losing this. I think this is a bad matchup for our deck. I haven't really seen too many Unholy Death Knights. But even if we clear their board, at best we're going to have a 1-3. We may have actually nothing. And then they just refill the board because they have plenty of cards in hand. So I'm pretty sure we're losing this game. Doing awesome in the latter half of yesterday's stream too. Yeah, it was pretty good. Welcome to Bonus Star Poverty. Yeah.
Pick me! Pick me!
So again, I mean, the good news is we clear this board. The bad news is we don't develop anything. And our opponent just replays their entire board. So we really don't have anything going for us here other than the fact that they don't have much in the way of corpses. But it feels like we're just going to struggle to find the damage. But that being said, there's really no option but to clear the board like this. And it's possible that we're even going to have to find the second Shadow Word Undeath. Which is a bit unfortunate. I think next turn, if this dies, we probably draw cards, but we want to go as wide as possible with as many minions as possible. This is scary too, because they can just create... They can create so much good stuff. Like, imagine if our opponent... they played 2 Frost Strikes, and they're emoting us as well. Doesn't really help us this turn, but it's going to be good. I don't want to just play it and then Mindseer on this, but our opponent is getting like a lot of corpses, and they're probably going to have a lot of 1/1 tokens that we're not going to be able to address. So again, I think my game plan here is just going to be to go wide. That's a death rattle. So this is like bad on your turn. Right now we have 3 shadow spells. So that would deal 3 random damage. That's not going to do anything. Other than maybe remove like the 1/1s. Murloculus is tough because it looks like it's never going to be free because we just don't have the minions on board to be able to make it free. I don't want to play this now that I think about it because we don't want to be taking the extra damage, so I should have actually drawn cards first. I don't know that would have changed our play, but this was definitely a bad order. And now we see our boards getting frozen. This was created, again, Death Knight just has like an insane Discover pool. So now we're taking a ton of damage. So I'm really glad that I didn't put this on the board and just take extra damage here. They also still have an additional Frost card, which is bad news for us. But so, an Undead hasn't died, so the Shadow Word Undeath isn't even good here. Maybe I ping here to soften this up. How are we winning? It feels like we just don't win. Ping actually doesn't do anything unless we're going to ping face. Drawing cards doesn't even necessarily do anything. There's probably nothing I would want except maybe the second Void Touched Attendant, so that's largely a waste of mana. I'm just going to put minions on the board. And then pass back to the opponent. So hopefully there's not an additional freeze effect, and we can clear with like a Shadow Word Undeath. We're going to be taking a lot of damage here, and I think we're actually just dead if they have the Grave Strength, which is possible, but there was no way to play around dying this turn. So we want to try to give ourselves the best possible chance to win. And they actually... Oh man, that's... So our opponent won this game specifically because both of their discovered Frost spells were board freezes. And it feels like, yeah, we just died because this isn't even active. So that's the game over, strictly because of how strong the Death Knight Discover pool is. These are the games that I find the most frustrating to lose. Because there was nothing we could do that was ever going to win the game. No decision we made actually mattered because our opponent discovered freeze, and we were a board-based aggro deck. Felt like it was totally out of our control. Seer the Banshee and AoE. Even if we do that, I think we're still likely just dead the next turn because they would have... well, we were dead because they had the weapon that was 4 damage. They would have had a 5/1, and then they would have had a 2/1 still left over. Death Knight again as well here. Oh. Eric Jackson. Uncorrupt, thank you for scheduling more live streams. I really enjoy your content. You're the only Hearthstone creator with a brain that I will watch. Eric throwing shade in the chat. Thank you. I have had car trouble myself. Hope everything goes well. Eric, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm going to keep the 1-drops here. We're going to toss back the Shadow Word Undeath. Eric, thank you so much. That's very generous. I definitely appreciate that. I'm sure there's other Hearthstone creators that have a brain, though. I think I want to play the Banshee here. If it's Frost DK and they have the 2/2 weapon, it could just die. But they would also kill the Arms Dealer. This way, next turn, I'll be able to buff the egg with the Arms Dealer. And again, you know, if they're going to coin a hero power to remove this, I think I'm okay with it. Could be blood, could be unholy. We don't know what we're up against here. I've seen all three Death Knight decks. Plus, it could be one of these hybrid, like, rainbow decks as well. So they do play the coin here just to remove this. That almost tells me that this is going to be more of like a... I feel like that means this is going to be a blood deck. In which case, most likely the hero power again. I guess that activates like a Hematurge. Okay, so... That's not what's happening at all here. So straightforward turn again. We play this. Question is, do we want to remove this guy? It does protect our 5/3 a little bit. Like if they want to hit here and then hero power, then that's going to give us a strong turn next turn. So what if we just double bump? Because if they can hit like this, then they can spend 3 mana on doing something else. So I feel like this would be one that I'm not sure. I think that trade is okay, but again, trading in general is bad. And we're hoping that they don't discover something really good here. Again, the Death Knight Discover pool is just so good. But this means that our 5/3 survives. Oh, our 5/3 dies to the created spell? And they actually get an additional egg back. So again, just look at how strong that was for our opponent. They play location on 4 to pop this, and that's just really, really good. And then they have a hero power here. Yeah, strong turn from our opponent. Playing this puts the most stats on the board. The hero power doesn't really get us anything. I guess we could trade and hero power here. Again, we're just fighting for the board against another aggro deck. And it feels like we're behind on board, so this is when you want to make the trades to try to stay in the game. So this is going to be our play. And then next turn, assuming this is active, I think it will be because one of our undeads will die. Potentially we even pop the egg and play this to be able to remove their board. So they can play location, hit their own egg, and then like make some trades. Okay, they're not even doing that. So I think I do just want to clear their board here. I can bump, hit here, this guy's going face, and then play this. It clears their board, does some face damage, and it kind of puts us in the driver's seat in this game, I think. And I want to hit with this guy, so like if this damage goes here, it's not going to remove any of these other minions. If I hit like this, that guy could die. We actually get a copy of the location, so we know that they have the location in hand. I almost made the play in the wrong order. And unfortunately, we lost our 3/1. They could have hero powered on it. We do know that they have the location, so that's some valuable information.
Anybody?
And they're going to play this 1/1 as well. Hopefully the 4/3 survives. They could discover something to remove it. Again, that Death Knight Discover pool. Every time they discover something, it's just removal for the board, or it's board freeze. Every single time. And it's not even like our opponent is high rolling. That's just what happens with the Demon Hunters. I think we take the... I think we take the 7 damage face. They go to 15. I just don't know how we're winning from this point is the problem. If we had like a handful of smaller minions, it would be fine. I mean, I can play Undying Allies on this, but they can trade, hit with this. I ping this off so they can't use the location, but they can go like location hero power. It's just tough.
I wonder.
We Mograines aren't known for restraint.
And I think we have to take the damage. The issue is here, our top deck is going to be an amalgam, and we're not going to have a minion to discover off of, because I'm thinking that there's no way that this survives. Okay, well it does survive because of the weapon here. This is a lot of damage though. And I'm assuming they have the Frostworm's Fury, so we just never get to attack again. Take the Shadowed Spirit because it's cheap. And I feel like I have to play the location here. And then trade into the 4/4 because we can't afford to take this damage. If they have the Frostworm's Fury, I'm pretty sure we just lost the game. And I'm assuming that they have it. Again, we're going to lose to board freezes. We lose because our opponent is able to freeze the board. I really wish there weren't universal freeze effects like this. Yeah, we can't even remove this. Like, even this ping is only 4 damage because we're not active here. We can't draw. It's actually just nothing.
It is finished.
We lose to board freeze. Unfortunate.
Thank you.
Last night I had a Hydrolodon in play. My DK opponent discovered a Frost Strike into Howling Blast. Yeah, Death Knight Discover Pool is just really good. In addition to the fact that they have all of these board freezes. Like, they specifically nerfed that Shaman Elemental that froze the board. I can't remember the name of the card. But because supposedly freezing the board was toxic. And then they immediately print a board freezing card for Death Knight. They nerfed the 4/5 rush that was available to rogue decks because it was toxic. It was just too good against board-based decks in the early game, and then they immediately print a card that does that for Death Knight. I just don't understand what they're thinking when they do this sometimes. It's like you've already proven to yourself and everyone else that this doesn't work. It's just too powerful for where Hearthstone is currently, and then they make the same mistake again. I guess thinking that putting it in a different class will change the outcome. But you had something considered overpowered for Shaman, and something considered overpowered for Rogue, and you put both of those into the same Death Knight class. It's really wild when you think about it. We're also up against a Renathal Donkey here. To me, that means we want the fastest start possible. So I'm going to go Arms Dealer and Egg here with the coin. It activates our Egg. The Banshee will at least get a buff next turn. They can't just Hero Power and remove the Banshee. Oh my god, this is going to be another name I'm going to get wrong. I apologize. Let me know if I get it wrong. I'll get it right. Gosh, I have no idea even where to start with this name. Soccer. Please correct me. I apologize if I got your name wrong. What's happening is we were crushing with Undead Priest, and then we fought against 2 Death Knights. 2 Frost Death Knights in a row. This spends our mana better. So that's the way we're going to go here. And all of these cards are bad, but I guess Infectious Ghoul is the least bad. And then we're going to shove face. Looks like our opponent's going to be gaining a lot of health. This could be a bad matchup as well. If they hit ramp, we likely lose. If they don't have ramp, maybe we're okay. Again, this is just a straightforward play. We're going to keep developing our board and going face here. These have minimal value in this matchup because our opponent's not really playing minions. Almost. I was close. If you want to throw the pronunciation in chat, I'll take another shot at it. I'd like to get it right. Board freezes are a really unfun mechanic. I agree. And they hit ramp too. The only thing we have going for us is they don't have cards in hand, but if they have that the 8 mana draw 3 and put up a taunt, then we could be in trouble here. Also, our hand is doing nothing this turn. We needed a play. Maybe it was better to take the 4-drop off of the Discover. I mean, it was just a 4/5 for 4 mana because we didn't have a location to be able to discover a card, but that's kind of better than the play that we're making right now. The good news is, also I saved the Undying Allies here for this, just as a note, but if they have like Scale of Onyxia here, we're guaranteed that this buff is going to land on something. And that ain't nothing. Under King? So again, this feels like a pretty straightforward play. I'm definitely trading for this. The question is, I guess I'm doing it with the 1-2. We're going to pop our own egg. Or are we? We make this trade. Scale, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It actually lines up. Actually, it lines up in our favor for scale to at least have something on the board, because we're getting a 4-3 off of this as well. So we're going to do that. Then I'm going to go ahead and just make this trade, but our opponent's gaining so much health here. I guess this is like Renathal version of the Astalor OTK deck. But our board isn't totally dead to scale, which is good news. But I mean, they're at 32, so it's a small amount of good news. DK just doesn't have enough bad stuff yet due to having such a small card pool, so you almost never whiff on the discovers. Agree. Oh, I got it right? Nice. We do see the scale here. So these are important trades as far as what our opponent's going to make. And that actually, it ended up working out well for our opponent. And again, we just have no minions in hand. So this is a game where we have both Shadow Word Undeaths in hand, and our opponent's not playing minions, so they're almost worthless. Like, at some point, we're going to just start throwing these for damage. But we're kind of in bad shape here. That's really good as well. It feels like we're just losing this game. I think our opponent kills us just by going face with that. Awkward mana costs on the Discover. I almost feel like we take the minion and ping. Maybe it's better to get a bigger body though. So I'm gonna do this. We're going face, and then the question is, do we Mind Seer our own Infectious Ghoul? I guess we don't. I don't think anything we do matters at this point. We just lost to a Druid deck that hit their ramp. The sound of the Q. It's... Okay, I'm still gonna get it wrong. Oh yeah, we Giga lost this game. Unfortunate. So we go from a 6-game win streak to a 3-game losing streak. We gotta get this under control. We're getting farmed now. Who are the donkeys? The donkeys are the people that are playing like Renathal decks. Donkeys are the people that are playing like Blood Death Knight, Jackpot Rogue. People that are playing decks that don't make sense and somehow win because Hearthstone selects them to win the game. Especially like Jackpot Rogues, like you randomly discover a win. Did you like the old Renathal? I did not. I like my Hearthstone games faster, and I felt like Renathal, in a lot of cases, it made the games what I call artificially longer. Having Renathal didn't necessarily change the outcome of the game, but it made it take additional turns to get to the same outcome. That's what I felt about Renathal. I didn't necessarily like it at all.
I will fight with honor.
Death, lend me your power.
We got a Paladin this time, and all of this is a toss. Hopefully we get... Again, like, the hand just really isn't great. You don't really want the location. The location might actually low-key be a cut in this deck. Because this is like a last resort option. I don't want to play the location. I would rather play minions to get minions on the board and do other things. Sometimes it's okay, but most of the time it's just not. Unfortunate, yeah. True, yep. You feel the same way. Oh, kitty cat, please don't turn off my computer. My kitty likes to jump on my computer, and somehow she has a talent for landing directly on the power button.
Tragic. A redemption divine.
I have to remove this. I mean, I don't even have plays anyway. Second game in a row, we're just not drawing minions. I guess I saved the Mind Seer and just bumped ping. But, well, I take that back. We need to draw cards because we need minions. And then we can Mind Seer to remove this. And then hopefully, I mean, imagine like having this in hand. If we were going to be able to play 2 undead minions next turn, would be insane. Unfortunately, that's just not going to be the case. Have you tried Control Pirate Warrior? I have not. It's been a few months. I did try it, but it's been a while. I guess we just play the Arms Dealer. I think we play both of these. Just try to spend mana as best we can. This isn't undead. If we have to Cultist next turn, we at least get an Arms Dealer back, but these are just like weak turns. And I'm going to hold the Undying Allies, hopefully to hit hopefully like a Haunting Nightmare, but this is another game, it feels like we're behind. We don't necessarily even have the board, and we're not damaging our opponent. And we know that like once we start getting up to the higher turns, they're probably going to be playing the Countess and then winning with invitations, so we need to get some damage in face as quickly as possible here.
With every step, the light
And they're also like drawing and discovering a lot of holy spells. Hey Radicus, nice to see you. Appreciate you stopping by. So in this situation, I'm going to play the Undying Allies with the Mind Eater here. Just because we need cards, like we need resources. And then that frees me up to be able to ping.
I wonder.
This goes face, and then hopefully like both of these and this die, and then that gives us a good High Cultist turn next turn. And I'm just going to go ahead and ping face to take the damage. I value 3 damage face more so than removing this 1/2. I really want our opponent to remove these minions. Hopefully both copies of this and this guy. And it's going to give us a really good Cultist next turn. And again, I just kind of hoping that this isn't like a control version of Pure Pally, because if they're running like Equality City Tax, then we just never win. Not from the position that we're in. Because we would play this, get all that stuff back, and then it just gets cleared again. They create a secret? Could be Reckoning. We're not going to trade for the board because we don't want it to be certainly Avenged. Plus these are like low attack minions. We definitely don't need to trade. That changes things a little bit though. But look, they took extra damage off of that. Yep, it's Reckoning. It kills this, so we get one of their cards. And it gives us an additional card for the Basilisk here. Oh, and we high rolled the card that we got as well. Now they have to fight through the taunt with Divine Shield, and we got those minions back. That was a high roll. That's Hearthstone apologizing to us for these 3 losses in a row. Control Pirate Warrior held up well against both Paladin and Priest deck, strangely enough. I would still not run it myself. Yeah. You kind of have the inevitability with the pirate quest. How much do we have here? We have 10, 12, 14. This has to die though. There's no way we can afford to leave this on the board because the rush is so bad for us. I think everything else is going face. I can ping that off. So I'm going to start by drawing a card. They could potentially have the 5/5s, the light rays coming down. So maybe I try to discover... I think there's value in going wide here because this looks to be an aggro deck. So I want to try to discover either a 2 or a 1. And we did. So we're going to take that. We're going to play this guy. And then I'm going to ping off the Liadrin. Everything else is going face. So again, this is a situation, I don't want to trade for the 6/6. They did get a heal, but the Hold the Bridge was created. They're not running that in their deck. So I don't want to like send minions into this that could otherwise be going face.
True strength comes from within.
If this is Order in the Courts, they have at least one Light Ray that they play, but by holding the Cathedral of Atonement, I can land a buff on one of the minions that'll allow us to be able to get a good trade on this Light Ray. And hopefully they don't have the second one here. But with 3 attack minions, this will buff it to 5 attack. And that's going to help us to be able to get through the taunt. And then we knew that they had this already, so nothing unexpected there. And we actually hit Order in the Court. So I think if we Order in the Court, we actually draw Shadow Word Undeath, which goes a long way towards clearing this board. What they killed was actually Basilisk, though, so I don't think it's going to be active. But I think we still take it.
What is Elune's will?
Well, the problem is we could actually hit Benedictus. It's a 2 out of 3. Wow, it's a 2 out of 3, man. But if we miss it this turn, it's guaranteed for next turn. So I'm going for it. Okay, oh, we hit it is active. Oh, that's right, they killed a 3/1. So we're going to bump like this. We're going to deal our damage. We make this trade, and then these guys go face. So that game felt really hard. I don't know what it looked like for you guys, but it felt hard because we just didn't have minions to play in the early game. We ended up getting there, though. And I think it was being able to steal our opponent's resources with the Mind Eater was what actually got us there. I've been a DH main for a while now. It feels great. You can deal with almost every situation in this meta. Yeah, that's the Demon Hunter deck is really good. Are you playing, I assume you're playing like the Relics? Relic Demon Hunter. It's also just a fun deck to play. Like the location, it feels fun to play the location, especially with the Relic of Dimensions and draw all those cards. I could definitely be down for some Demon Hunter.
Versus Anduin.
The light shall bring victory.
Death, lend me your
Oh, we could have a mirror match here, so we're going first, which we like to see. Hopefully we draw some minions, though. I like it. I'm going to get the Arms Dealer down first. I mean, they could coin Hero Power to remove it. And they could even, like, Hero Power on turn 2 to remove the Banshee. But then they're not developing anything. What if we just skip turn 1 and play both of these turn 2? Our opponent has one kept card. Do we put ourselves behind? We play this, they can coin Hero Power, and then the Hero Power turn 2. I'm going to save these to play together. And then if they kill... They're unable to kill the Banshee first, they have to kill this first, otherwise the Banshee buff goes down. Oh, they're playing a totally different version here, even. I think I still like this play. If they have... It's a bad card to play in the deck, but if they have Whispers of the Deep, I think they actually just win from this very specific situation of coin Corporal into Whispers of the Deep. It looks like they don't have it because they're aiming at my minion. I wonder if they'll even attack with this. Okay. So we could actually, like, just go ahead and kill this if we wanted to. I don't think we want to, though. It's really not that big a deal. So I'm going to Mondseer the Banshee. And then get down this guy and push face. So, I mean, if it does hit, it's 2 extra damage, but this dies. If they silence it, it goes down to only 5 attack again. They're drawing cards, which is good for them. We got to remember that we're going to have to play around like the Shadow Word Undeath from our opponent. They actually have second grave digging, so that's good. We're going to draw some of our own cards here. Foul Egg and Amalgam. I think I want to get this on the board. If they have to trade their 7/6 into the Void Touch the Tenant, that's good for us. Just play all 3 of the 1-drops. Try to sneak in as much damage as we can before the Shadow Word Undeath. Still going to be 1 more turn away. I think I like it. Also, having the egg on board is good. If they have to make this trade, we're pretty happy that we just don't take the 7 here. Relics, both the Scythe. Prefer the Scythe without relics. Oh, okay. Yeah. Both the Scythe and Minion decks, but prefer the Scythe without relics. So that's kind of like the Spell Demon Hunter, right? That we were seeing back in January, is what it sounds like. Okay. Now things are getting interesting. We're going to get a lot of damage face. The way we lose this game is by trading. Yeah, we just took a bunch of damage, but I'm fine with this. Yeah, I'm totally fine with this. So I'm going to do this. And I guess I'm going to buff this guy. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. I'm expecting... Actually, if they can't kill this, their Shadow Word Undeath is not going to be active. So I'm going to buff this guy. Because they could still play it as like a 2 mana, almost like Consecration. Buffing this guy puts it out of range. And then I'm going to... Let's see, everything is going face. Instead of doing the math, I'm just going to take a look at it. So, if we ping, it hits for 3, they go to 5, and then next turn we would have lethal with Mindseer ping. So I think this is pretty straightforward. They have 6, they have 9. I think this is fine, we just set up lethal. There's cases where we're dead, though. They've already played 1 Mindseer, so... Actually, I don't think they can kill us here. Shadow Word Undeath isn't active, and that uses all their mana, so they have 9. They would need to deal an additional 4 damage. I guess we're dead exactly to second Mindseer, because it does 1 extra damage, and they could hit some of our minions on the board. But they've only drawn 11 cards. I think that means it should be unlikely they have second Mindseer. I think in this situation, we just set up lethal. I mean, we could have made this trade to get this off the board. Maybe that was the play. Push face and then trade here. They would have been at 7.
Quickly.
Yeah, it's still not enough, right? They needed to hit... Oh wow, they hit the Mondseer and they're 1 off.
You have been.
Woo! So both Mondseers were top 12 for them. One drops for the win, yeah. This deck is powered by the 1-drops. Yeah, that deck, the old one. Yeah, that was... I really enjoyed Spell Demon Hunter. I liked Quest Demon Hunter before it was nerfed. I understand why they nerfed it, but I just thought it was a really fun deck to play. I think sometimes you definitely find yourself in a position where
Alone give me strength.
you just have to go ahead and set up lethal. Do I ever keep this for this guy? I don't think you ever keep Undying Allies. We need other stuff. If we happen to have it in our hand, it's fine, but we really need other stuff. So I can go like 2 into 3. It'd really be nice to top deck a 1-drop here. Death Knight has to be a bad matchup for this deck. So I can go 2 into 3 into 4. Hero power is weak. Could be Blood Death Knight because our opponent's not doing anything. They kept 2 cards and they haven't done anything. This could get interesting. But yeah, sometimes like you just know, like I can't beat my opponent's board clear. If they have the clear, they win the game. It is Blood Death Knight. And so in situations where that happens, you just go ahead and set up lethal. I mean, you're losing anyway, you can't beat the board clear, so you want to make sure you put yourself in a position to win if they don't have it. So, I mean, I can play these guys. It puts a 3-2 and a 4-3 in play. Other option is just get down the Haunting Nightmare or the Shadowed Spirit.
What is illusions with?
If I just play like the second Haunting Nightmare, there's a chance that next turn I could play like both of these and get additional 4-3s. I'm pretty sure this dies no matter what, like even just like attack and hero power, but if our opponent spends 2 mana to hero power, that's good for us. Probably what we don't want to see is the School Teacher here. But if they play School Teacher, we can trade into it with this. I think I like this play the best. It's almost guaranteed that this dies, and then like maybe we hit some kind of a high roll. It's 2 out of 5. Blood Donkeys, exactly. At least they're not also playing Renathal. But this is potentially a bad matchup. Like, we're probably going to have to hit Void Touch Attendants on a decent-sized board to push extra damage. And then, they actually have second Heart Strike. Okay. We'll take it. So, I mean, you can see here, we're a board-based aggro deck. We're playing against control. And our opponent actually has the board. And if they have like Corpse Explosion or even Blood Boil, it might be enough to just win the game here, but we're going to have to do something. So we're going to go in. And pretty straightforward, we just play a Mindseer. So, I mean, Corpse Explosion just clears our board. And again, unfortunately, we have both locations. I'm really thinking that the locations could be a cut. You certainly don't want both in your hand at the same time. And when you run into these situations where you don't have minions on board, like assuming they clear this, and we're stuck with locations, it's way too slow to just play a location and then hope that... that's a third Heart Strike, by the way. So they clear our board without even having to use that other stuff. We're going to spend mana here. Hopefully this board survives. And it's just a Mind Eater because we have to take an Undead to be able to get the damage. So we are able to push 6 there. If this board survives, I think we're in an okay spot. It doesn't, so it feels like we're in a bad spot. They're going to heal back to full. We have no choice but to make that trade. That only hits for 2, 4. So we're just going to spend our mana here. Opponent back to full and it's turn 7. It feels like we're just not going to get there this game. As you said that, I drew 2 locations in my opening hand. Feels bad. You could run just one location? That's true. You could replace like one copy of location maybe with another undead minion. We're going to take a look at it after this game and see what we can find in the collection. I know there's at least one version of this list that runs Astalor. You could cut a location and run Astalor. But that's one of those things that Astalor is basically a 2/2. You probably never want to spend 5 mana on the 5/5. Like turn 8 with the armor is irrelevant. Oh, so this is pretty good. We can double trade, I guess, and get everything back. We could just trade once and Mindseer. But this is going to allow us to draw cards. And I feel like drawing cards is going to be good. We are missing some face damage, but potentially they just have Soul Stealer next turn anyway. It feels like we just need more stuff in hand to be able to replenish our board, which we're going to be able to get. So I'm going to start with the card draw. Attendant is good. I'm going to go ahead and make the trade. I'm going to get down the Basilisk. And then the question is, which one of these? I think we kind of have to play this now because this is when we're guaranteed to have an undead to be able to play it on. And then I'm going to get the Foul Leg in play here as well. So now if our opponent does have the Soul Stealer, they clear our board, we draw a card, they take 3 damage, and we still have a 3/3 on the board. If they don't clear the board, we're going to jam the Void Touched Attendant. Unfortunately, they do have it. No guarantee that we have an undead minion on the board for this guy. We know 2 of the 3 cards are not going to be undead. So at this point, I feel like I'm just going to use a location here. Undying Allies. I think I'm going to just use the Undying Allies with like these 2 guys. If somehow they survive, again, I'm just looking to try to stick a board to be able to take advantage of the Void Touched Attendant at this point. Which is a bit unfortunate, but it's kind of where we're at. And we actually do hit an undead, so that's good news. And then we're just going to get down our other undead, and we're going to punch face. So we've got our opponent down to 14. Again, they just have a lot of ways. We haven't seen any Vampiric Bloods. They could have second Hematurge to create healing. The Corpse Explosion is a full clear here, which is unfortunate. And they're able to get something back down on the board. So not unexpected here. We're just struggling, is what it all comes down to. Absolutely struggling. So I'm going to go Banshee second location. I chose the Banshee just because it's 1 mana. Gives us mana for additional options. And then I'm just going to spend... And we're kind of just hoping that our opponent... We're hoping that we can put out enough boards that our opponent can't clear them. But at this point, they can even just play like 10 mana Astalor, and that's going to clear our board. And then I think we just lose. It's just over. So this is a donkey check. If our opponent is skilled, they play the Astalor. If they're a donkey... Okay. They know what's going on. So we've just lost, like, we can't beat the 8/8. Maybe we can beat the 8/8. Dang, that's crazy. Alright, we're staying in the game. We're gonna stay in this game. Double Egg is absolutely awful. But at least we can buff one. And again, we're just in spend mana mode. I'm going to try to hold these guys for maximum possible damage here. We're going to obliterate this. And then we're going to shoot face. Why are you hitting yourself? Because you're a donkey. But actually, I was the one hitting myself, so I'm the donkey. What do you think of some variants running Void Shard? I don't know. It's possible that I'm not even playing the best version here. Oh man, it's the DK Discover Pool. Vampiric Blood, guaranteed. And they gain like 20 off of each one.
Pick me! Pick me!
I talk too much, man. Look at that. So we just lost.
Pick me! Pick me!
And again, it's not even...
Yourselves, soldiers!
Again, it's the created that cost us the game. It's the Death Knight Discover Pool. Like, if they only had their own Vampiric Blood, they only gained 10, maybe we still found a way to get there, but we just lost. Even with this. And we can't draw anything. Even if we hit, like, the Shadow Word Undeath, we know one is on the bottom. Both copies of Shadow Word Undeath in the bottom 4.
It is finished.
But again, it was the Discover. There may have been other things in their hand that would have caused them to be able to win that game, but from where we sit, it just looks like discovering Vampiric Blood cost us the game. Unfortunate. But Zach, back to your comment about... Oh, I want to take a look at the deck as well. See what else we can find. But getting back to your comment about the Void Shard, this may not be the best version of the deck. I do know that people are experimenting with like the Whispers of the Deep and the Incorporeal Corporal, the 5/5. I think that's like a high roll draw though. That's like the only thing that it's good on in that version of the deck. And people are also still experimenting with Bonecaller versions of the deck. People are playing... Oh, it's not the 0, it's the 1. People are playing Animate Dead with it. It could be good. I mean, the Void Shard, it could be one of those things that maybe it's better in the mirror and not good against other stuff, but it is just like an extra direct damage spell. Although at 4 mana, it's a little bit expensive. That's kind of like a throwback, I feel like, to maybe like older versions of the deck. So personally, I don't think so, but it could actually prove to be that that is the best card to be playing. These are trash. Don't want to play a Psychic Conjurer. I don't like Bonecaller. Too many games. We're only running 4 Death Rattles in the deck, so there's going to be too many games where this is just dead in your hand, because one of these hasn't died yet. So that's out. And then everything else is too expensive. You don't want to run you don't want to run the Mistress of Mixtures. Bone Flinger just feels bad. Should be active most of the time, but it feels bad. You could run Thalnos. I mean, it's card draw, and then it does have implications with, like, Undeath and Mindseer, and it's an undead minion. And then I don't necessarily like any of this stuff. I don't really like Brittle Skin Zombie either. Nerubian Vizier could be interesting. But again, that's like a 3-drop. I guess we'd be replacing 3s with 3s. What if this is the one, though? What if we cut both Cathedrals for Viziers? It's going to be active most of the time. This is additional undead minions that could be on the bottom of the deck for Rotting Necromancer. It's additional undead minions for the other things that benefit from undeads. Like if it dies, you know, it allows us to be able to use this. I think I want to try the Viziers. The only problem is, let's take a look and see the Priest Discover Pool is nowhere near as good. So you can always hit the Sunwell. That's going to be value. You don't want Whirlpool because we don't want to clear our own board like 99.9% of the time. Elk Mount could be good. That would be 5 mana. We don't want to clear our board. Boon could be good. It would only be 3 mana. We don't want to clear our board. This is going to be too expensive. Even reduced most of the time, although I guess it could be good. Land this on like a Void Touched Attendant, possibly. I mean, this at only 2 mana is pretty good. You can discover Void Shard. Again, we don't want removal. This for 1 mana, if we have stuff on the board, would be pretty insane. I guess like single target removal could be good. I mean, at this point, the cards are either going to be cheap or free. Devouring Plague could be good to fight for the board. I don't know, Clear Conscience would be good. I think we give it a try. If nothing else, even if you just like discover a tradable to be able to trade and get something else out of your deck, maybe it's good. We're going to give it a try, but a lot of these, you know, you don't necessarily want silence. Maybe use this on an opponent's taunt to be able to get through. This could be card draw and heal your board. Removal. Illuminate could be good just to have the dredge. I don't know. Kind of looks like a mixed bag, maybe 50-50, but we're going to give it a shot. What's in the common undead pool? Not a lot. I don't think there's really anything decent that we would want to run. A lot of this stuff just isn't good. The only thing that's ever made the cut, I think, in decks is the Egg, which we already run, and then the 2-mana card, the Vrykul Necrolight. Outside of that, I don't think we necessarily want to be playing like these, because probably, you know, if you drop this on turn 2, you just feel really bad because it's probably not getting in the damage. What about putting the 1-cost minion that discovers a legendary? I know it's not undead, but the potential is there. That's the priest card. I don't know, I kind of don't like it. Because the legendary that you're going to discover is probably going to be expensive. And it feels like the games that we're winning is when we spend our mana in the early and mid game on multiple minions on the board. Because pretty much the way we win is with damage from the board. You know, you have to have minions on board to really take advantage of the Void Touch Attendant. This is a little bit of damage, and then of course Mondseer is a little bit of damage, Hero Power is a little bit of damage, but most of it is coming from having minions to attack our opponent's face. And there's no guarantee that you're going to get, like, playable legendaries, so I just kind of don't like it. It's a little bit too random for my taste. But again, it could be good. Maybe it's worth going out and testing. Good points. I've seen Thalnos a few times. Actually surprised I don't see Viziers. It's interesting. It's going to depend on the Discover pool. Like, how good is the average Discover for Priest off of this card? And I'm not sure that's a question that really anybody has an answer to. So... Alright, we're going to try out this new deck, but before we do, I am actually going to step away to the restroom just for a brief moment. I'm going to be back shortly. And unfortunately, man, my friends list, like, nobody's playing. I don't even think Zobo is playing here, but... I promise I won't be gone long. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. Hopefully our new Vizier tech is going to be something that'll give us a little bit of an advantage. The locations, man, it's just so many times, like, I never want to play the location. I'm sad when I do play the location. It is card draw with a small amount of damage attached to it, but at least with the Viziers, it's creating resources. So, like I said, we'll give it a try and see how it goes. Mind Eater is a keep. The Mind Seer, we're going to be fighting against probably an aggro paladin deck. I don't think we keep it. This is the kind of card where I can like potentially bait myself. Oh, it's going to be so good to remove their minion, but I don't think that's the way we want to be playing our deck. Let's see. Can you friend me? Red Dragon 12649. Yeah, I think I got like a ton of room on my friends list.
The light dims, but we fight.
264.
Initializing descent.
Nine. Friend request sent. I gotta head out. I hope you have a good rest of your live stream. Chaos, thank you so much for stopping by, man. Hope you have a good rest of your day. And I will hopefully be able to catch you next time. So they go boom, boom. And both copies of this die. I don't want to just use a Mind Seer on this, though. Maybe I do. Just because we can potentially get back 2 copies of this. It's never going to survive because I've already used the coin, though. Ends up being really good trades for our opponent, but they are trading their entire board. So we're going to take it. These are all bad. Just going to take the cheap one. And I'll probably never play it unless I'm actually desperate. And I'm going to go ahead and get the Divine Shield off of that guy. So I'm assuming it's going to be like bump, bump, or bump, bump. Either way, this is going to die, but we are going to collect 2 of our opponent's cards here. Oh, wow. That's pretty interesting. And it's got buff, too, so this is Dude Paladin. I have no idea what's in this deck. But just a hero power is going to be, you know, pretty good for our opponent here. Just going to spend mana here. I want to get down, I guess, this Mind Eater. We're going to go face. At this point, anytime undead minions die, we're going to have the High Cultist to be able to bring them back. Oh, it's so strong. So strong. We really, really need a Shadow Word Undeath, and we just don't have it. Maybe this is when we just go ahead and get the High Cultist. It's gonna be like the best that we can do here. Get rid of that stuff, and we're gonna get down the Cultist. So hopefully they don't have like another one of those, or you know, maybe we can find a Shadow Word Undeath, but it's unfortunate that how big this thing is because they hit it with the Seafloor Savior. Facing something a little bit different. Which is good. I like facing different stuff. Keeps it fresh. Makes it a little bit harder, though, to be able to win, though, I guess. Oh, they had the second one. So we basically have to top deck Shadow Word Undeath or we lose, and we're really bad at top decking Shadow Word Undeath. It's 22 damage on board. We can't even remove that much. And this is more Silverhand recruits. Man, this feels like a really big high roll from our opponent. So we can hit, we can Mondseer. Guess I'll take a look at the bottom of the deck. Maybe there's an Undeath down there. But it's also possible they run some kind of attack buff and we just lose anyway. Alright, what's on the bottom? Not what we need. And see, now we know for sure that we're not going to be able to top deck the Undeath next turn, because this is going to be our top deck. And none of it's good, so I think we pretty much just lost here. Unfortunate. Both stand against the darkness in the top... whatever that was, like both in the top 8. And then they had the Warhorse Trainer that was on the bottom and discovered by the Seafloor Savior. Definitely unfortunate. Unfortunate for us, but fortunate for our opponent. So good for them. Man, that's tough. If we have Shadow Word Undeath, do we win? I kind of think we do. Maybe that deck runs like Cariel. But we've been able to clear their board. They would still have initiative though. But they only had just like a couple of cards in hand.
Will serve me in death.
So I'm going to toss all this. We never keep egg. Unless we have maybe like an arms dealer to go along with it. We need a turn 1 that's like playable. And egg just doesn't do a whole lot. And again, Hearthstone just trolls me, man. I needed this last game. I can't find it. I needed it 2 games ago. Both copies in the bottom 4. Here it is in my opening hand, and you never want this in your opening hand. Hearthstone, donkey. The entire game is a donkey. Which I guess makes me a donkey for playing it. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but if you're a donkey for playing Hearthstone, you got to take a long look in the mirror over there. Alright, well at least we do have like egg and discover. If it's Frost Death Knight, I feel like we just lose. We're gonna get frozen. Are we leaving the Peasant on the board? How much does it matter? I guess it matters, but if we remove it, then we're not developing... we're not developing our side. This also makes me think that this is going to be like Undead Death Knight. So I kill this, and then they play the Battlefield Necromancer. I guess we just do it. I don't like that play, but I guess it's the best play. We'll be able to clear their board on turn 5, but if they have like the Hawkstride or Rancher, and we clear their board and it's left with a bunch of 1/1s, they get a bunch of corpses plus a Grave Strength. It's like just a bad matchup. I guess I'll be a mule. I've slowed down on playing Hearthstone and started playing Marvel Snap. Yeah, that's good. I really do talk too much. This is exactly what I said was going to happen.
Run as fast as you can.
Yeah, so Emmanuel, I tried Marvel Snap and it's just not for me, man. I think I've got a total of maybe 4 hours in the game and I found it to be extremely boring. Like, just massively boring. So, just not for me. I probably should have played Undying Allies along with this. They created removal, by the way. And I'm assuming this is going to be like some kind of board freeze. Which just closes us right out of the game. It's pretty straightforward. We need something playable here. The only playable is the Mistake. Like, these just aren't good. But it is what it is. It's also of note here that by cutting the locations, that's one less way to activate egg. So we either have to depend on our opponent clearing the board or Mindseer our own egg. So maybe if you cut locations, you also have to cut the eggs. Which again, like, what do you play in their place?
Pick me!
Our opponent creates removal, our best minion gone. It's not even an undead. And again, like, we're just kind of in a spot that we don't want to be in. We're going to clear the board, but we have no power to be able to damage our opponent. But it's still like the only play. So I think we have to look at cutting the eggs then. If we're going to run the Viziers over the location. Meanwhile, our opponent is just destroying right now. And we almost have to play this because they're not going to kill these on their own. How bad is this hand? Both Undying Allies? I think I'm just getting out of the game.
It is finished.
That is not good. So we had a nice little losing streak going now, unfortunately. Death Knight is just a bad matchup, and I think this speaks to more people are starting to play Death Knight again because they're realizing that the location nerf just wasn't that bad, which is pretty much what we expected all along, I think.
Taranda versus Gul'dan.
Warlock is also interesting.
Death, lend me your power.
Could actually be another bad matchup for us. I don't like Amalgam. We're going to keep the Shadowed Spirit, though, because we do have a turn 1 play. And I think I want to play these together just so that the egg can get buffed. And I forgot to go to the collection to try to figure out if we wanted to replace eggs or maybe we cut the Viziers. Oh wow, it's actually... I could coin ping this off, and then we've got turn 2, and then turn 3 would be something like that. Or I could just, like, coin
I wonder.
and get the minions on the board. Maybe it's actually better to just get the minions on the board, and then I can ping turn 2 if I have to. I think I like this play the best. We have a possibility of top decking a playable, or we can just plan on pinging. They might make this trade, but that seems like that'd be a bad trade on their part. This is a game where we're going to have to find the Shadow Word Undeaths, though, because we're going to need to clear some of these imp boards, I'm afraid. I kind of assume this is going to be like the curse package, but it could just be pure imps. We might also have to dodge Rafam. It's understandable. While Snap is still strategic, its simplicity limits it more. Its variables are nowhere near as much as Hearthstone, plus the gameplay can seem one-sided. It's also like a massively... It's not even pay to win. I've heard it's really hard to get the cards that you want. Like the collection, you just can't get the cards that you want. And so you end up playing other people that have the good cards. Like, I have a loose understanding that Thanos is a really good card. I'm just gonna ping here and go face. So, but there's no like guaranteed way to get Thanos. You have to hope that it's in your shop. I guess. I don't know. It's just, like I say, not my kind of game. This was expected. You take a trade, buff the egg, take another trade. I just want to prevent our opponent from drawing cards as much as possible. And then we could play like Undying Allies with this guy, or we could try to discover off of the Vizier if we do it like this. So we're going to do that. Could also draw cards, but I think I kind of don't like that as much. Because we're going to have other undeads that die. Yeah, I probably should have discovered before I made that trade. But we're going to see just how good the Vizier is now.
The more you struggle, the better.
Yeah, and see, this is the problem. I didn't have to make that trade, but I did. Maybe we take the light bomb. I mean, we don't want to remove our own board, but there's a possibility that we get overwhelmed by our opponent's board. That's crazy talk. So if I didn't make that trade, I could have taken like Shadow Word Devour and removed all of the 1/1s. It's possible I still should have taken the Devour, just because they have 3 more cards that are going to summon a bunch of 1/1 imps. But my thinking was they likely go face, but we can trade, and then we have this for free to be able to remove that. Then we'll be able to draw cards and like Shadowed Spirit with Undying Allies. And the fact that they tap here is really good for us. This is a weak turn for our opponent. They're taking even more damage. And most importantly, they didn't play like 3 3/3s. Yeah, so I'm like totally okay with this. So I'm going to go ahead and draw. We actually hit the Cultist, which is absolutely insane. So we're going to Smite here, and then we Undying Allies Shadowed Spirit, and I'm going face with this guy. And then next turn, hopefully all of these will die, and we'll be able to get back 2 copies. Buffed with extra attack, plus we can maybe get this back. Yeah, this is a win. Our opponent just doesn't really have what they need here. They go face. Okay, this dies anyway. I think I'm still okay with this. I can hit here. The second copy's not going to die. But they're going to have to, like, trade for it. Also. So they're still taking 3 damage face off of that. And then make sure I get the arms dealer first, and then we'll just take back the minions that we have. So I think we're okay here. They're not going to kill us, even if they're able to buff the board. They're only going to have 14. We have a water board. 6 damage in the form of this. They can't remove everything. I guess maybe if it's like the curse version, they can play the Abyssal Curse, but that's going to clear their side of the board as well, and they're going to take 6 damage.
Haven't heard of me? You will.
So it actually is the curse version. How much healing are they going to be able to get? They've already used 1 touch. If they just play like the 3 mana deal 4, they could remove these 2 guys, still take additional damage. Yeah, drag below. So they remove our 2 biggest minions, and I kind of have to kill this. Also, I'm kind of in a position of hoping that they don't have the Zakul, because I don't think we can afford to spend mana playing these curses. 5 damage is the best I could do from hand. So I'm going to go ahead and play the minions first, to be able to take advantage of this buff. It's also possible that our board just gets cleared here, but I don't think this is a situation where we can't really afford to play around the Abyssal Wave. And we definitely can't afford to leave the Tamsin on board. If they had the Zakul, they heal for 6. Plus we're taking a lot of damage. Oh yeah, I think we just won the game. We're still in a good spot. I think the location and eggs are necessary evils. It could be. Location just feels so bad. There has to be a better card. I mean, the egg, it has a couple of different functions. It can get buffed with Arms Dealer. We can hit it with Mondseer. And then it's also almost like AoE protection. So if we're playing against DK and they play like a Blood Boil, it'll pop the egg and we still have a 3/3. Things like that. But again, like, I never want to play the location anyway. So being able to play it on an egg is kind of like a small consolation. You could also play it in conjunction with Banshee, but there's no guarantee that the buff lands on the egg. So I guess that means we toss the egg, but how many times... I don't know. I mean, you never kept egg anyway, even if you had location. Could actually keep it and play these together. This maybe dies on turn 2 and buffs the egg. But if it doesn't die on turn 2 and then we play this, then it's like a 50-50. I guess we keep it and find out. We're just going to have to do some testing to figure out, is egg still good enough to play? And do we need to go back to the locations? So far, I feel like I like the Vizier, though. It's Blood DK, so they would probably have no problem coining out something to remove the Banshee. Gotta pass turn and play these on turn 2, and then we'll go from there. See how it works out. Another Renathal Blood DK Donkey. So she's saying board freeze is overpowered. Yeah, I don't like board freeze overall. Like, even freezing 3 minions with the 0 mana flurry as a mage on 10 mana is just almost like too strong. It basically removes an entire archetype. Alright, so again, this feels like a pretty straightforward turn, and then this is going face. But it's another matchup where I feel like this matchup is easier than if it's a 30-card blood deck, just because they have 10 extra bad cards in their deck, which makes it less likely that they hit like Vampiric Bloods and, you know, the removals and things like that. But we want to spend all of our mana, which I think is just get down to 5-4. There will be other ways to activate this later. We also hit the second Nerubian here, which is good. And it's also important to note, like, if you don't use a deck tracker, which I would recommend that you use one, but if you don't, you can keep in mind, hey, these are on the bottom. I know I'm not going to be able to draw them because we're never getting that far. So they got the Death Strike. And this looks like they're setting up for possibly like a corpse explosion or something. I have a feeling that means that this board is going to get removed. So we're going to hold back a little bit, I think. The Identity Theft is good here. Question is, do we play it or do we ping? I think we ping. I mean, it's always going to be 1 mana. And I didn't want to play the Mind Eater because I'm kind of expecting, based on our opponent killing the egg last turn, that they want to remove the board this turn. And we do see the Blood Boil come down. We did hit Bran, though, so I think we actually play Bran with the Discover off of Nerubian Vizier, and we can actually look for more value-oriented things to try to win the game. I guess it's destroy minions with 5 or more. We really don't want to clear our own board. And we'll take the Asharan Ritual. But those are not the kind of cards that are going to win the game. Our opponent likely feels pressure to remove the Brand, but we don't have a lot of stuff in the deck that can take advantage of it. It would be sick if we could get like 10 off of the second Rotting Necromancer, but it's just really unlikely. They actually run Ashbringer. Plus they're healing even more. So, I think at this point, well, we'll check the Identity Theft, but we're probably just going to have to go wide. We know they have Theatar, we know they have Mograine. Mograine is really just too slow for us. And they could actually be playing their copy next turn. But maybe the damage adds up and we find a way to get there. I don't think we're going to get anything good off of Theatar. And apparently they play Raid Boss. which is shocking. Is it location? We know that the raid boss is going to come down. Oof.
What is
Maybe we just drown the raid boss, but that leaves a bunch of 2-1s on the board. I think it's the location here. The Death Knight location is pretty good. And then I'm just going to try to get a bunch of minions on the board, I think. It's possible that we actually hit like a second copy of Mograine. We go Mograine into Mograine. And 6 a turn starts to add up fast, but they have a lot of cards in hand, so it's pretty unlikely. And they want to play removal here. I think we're pretty happy if they play their own Mograine. Yeah, we see a corpse explosion come down. And unfortunately, that's like one of the worst cards for it to land on. Yeah, it's just kind of not good. I'm gonna get this down. It's guaranteed that this minion gets removed. I feel like this game is almost a waste of time. We're probably better off actually just conceding here, but maybe we can find a way to win somehow. So that is going to be the Asharan Ritual. We hit a 4-3. Then we're going to discover, and we'll take the undeath to remove that minion on their side of the board. And then at this point, I probably want to commit to pinging face every turn. So between Mograine and pinging face, we're able to deal 5 damage every single turn to our opponent, and it's just kind of like a race. Unfortunately, we know next turn that they're going to be able to play the Onyxia, and we're not going to have an answer to all the 2-1s on the board. We really need the Shadow Word Undeath. We could play like this and Shadow Word Undeath, which would remove everything. I mean, the board is just getting removed. Because it's like guaranteed that they play the raid boss. So I guess we spend mana on this guy because it's damage. And then we'll pass it back. It just feels like we're not going to get there. They got 5 healing off the weapon. They still have like other stuff. And then they're going to put out like a win condition onto the board right now. Hey Kurt, nice to see you. So they actually don't play... I really think raid boss is the play there. So this is actually going to clear the most threatening minions on the board. And we do manage to hit that, so that's good. So we're clearing their minions. We can Mind Seer on this guy. Go face with you. And then I think I actually just use the location here. And then they take another 3, so they're down to 10. If they play raid boss now, they take 3. And then it's actually, if they play raid boss on this turn, we actually just kill them. 3 off of the Mograine effect. 4 and 2. It's possible we kill him here. Please no healing. Please no healing. Oh, they hit a blood boil. Okay. So we're doing that. We're gonna ping here. We're gonna clear their board thusly. We're gonna punch face. And then we're gonna go dancing down the street because we just beat a Renathal Blood DK Donkey! I really think the 30 card version is probably better. At least against what we're doing. Now that's a game I would probably want to go back and watch the game, but just the fact that we were able to win, I feel like I played pretty well. Taking the Shadow Word Ruin actually saved us from dying. It felt like it was the best option on the Discover. And then taking the Mograine instead of... We definitely were taking the coin, but taking the Mograine instead of the Theatar, because the Theatar was just going to be basically a waste of 6 mana and pretty low value. We were able to find a way to get there. So that feels really good. Feels really good. Let's take a look at the deck. So the Viziers, we've only been able to play them a couple of times. They've offered removal, which has worked out pretty good, at least in the situations we've been in. And again, we don't have anywhere near enough data to draw conclusions. But they really haven't been, like, super good, I don't think. Because the Discovers haven't been good. I mean, Call of the Grave would be a good Discover. Animate Dead certainly has a lot of use with the deck that we're playing. We don't really need any of the healing. Like, half this stuff has to be healing. Silence could be useful. Anything that deals damage could be useful. I think we created the... What was it we created that allowed us to steal the... it wasn't Identity Theft, I don't think, but Identity Theft could be good in matchups where we need more value. Aid Station would be really good if we had minions to be able to take advantage of it. This going down to 1 mana is insane. Switcheroo, probably not good. The Asharan Ritual was good in that we were able to prevent some of the healing. Actually, we didn't prevent any healing. Now that I think about it, because the way that we removed their Gnome Muncher was actually off of the School Teacher. School Teacher Obliterate. So I actually misplayed that turn. I should have gone School Teacher first to see if I could find Obliterate, Asphyxiate, or... No, actually it was Shadow Word. It was Shadow Word Death. I'm thinking about it backwards. We're discovering Priest cards. So I should have gone School Teacher first that turn. I actually wasted the Asharan Ritual. It was a waste of mana, so I wasted 2 mana on that. And generally, like, the Discovers that we had off of this on that particular turn weren't that good. The Ruin worked out, but it still wasn't good. I think we had, like, Ruin against the odds, and maybe it was another, like, big board clear. Light Bomb, maybe it might have been Whirlpool. I don't know, Viziers don't really feel like they're all that good. So I think I'm actually going to cut the Viziers and just put the locations back in. Maybe it's one of those things where it was like a low sample size on locations, and they're better than I think they are. I should probably try to look up some stats. Oh! It's the magic of the internet. Yeah, I think it's, if I get too close to the camera, sometimes it doesn't adjust the focus, which I'm not sure why, because sometimes it's fine and sometimes it doesn't. Probably just like the effect of a low quality webcam. But, and I've noticed too, like, you'll see a lot of people put their hand up, like right up against the camera and then slowly back it off. And that'll work to fix the camera, but that's like 50-50 for me. The one thing that I have found works though, if I totally leave the camera view and then come back in, movie magic, baby. It's all about working around what you have. Which is the same as Hearthstone. Like, maybe you can't make this deck, so you gotta work around the collection that you have. But no real reason why you couldn't climb the ladder. Cathedral of Atonement. So I put the deck back exactly the way it was. Let's see where we're at here. So 10-6 on the day, which actually translates to a 67% win rate. So the deck is still performing really well for me. And overall on the season, it should still be like a 68 or 69%. Yeah, so overall on the season, 36-17 with Undead Priest, and that's 68%. So the deck is still performing really well. 10-6 doesn't feel good to me, and 10-6 doesn't feel like a 67% win rate. but apparently it is. It doesn't feel great, though, and that's why, you know, it just feels like a slog as we're trying to climb the ladder here. Feels like a real slog. It's unfortunate, but that's the way the system is set up. But I'll tell you what, for me personally, that gives me a lot of motivation. I don't ever want to have to do this again, so I'm going to be making sure that I work really hard to get that 11x bonus next month. Because this is for the birds. You hit Legend one time, and I think you either push hard for the 11x bonus, or maybe you just don't ever worry about it again. A lot of our losses have been recent, too. Definitely an uptick in Death Knights today. And Death Knight overall feels like a bad matchup. I'm not as worried about Blood, but it feels like Frost and Unholy are particularly bad matchups for this deck. So that is just a little bit unfortunate. But overall, the Undead Priest is performing really well. Again, not totally sure what the best version of the deck is. There'll be a Vicious Syndicate report that's going to come out on Thursday, so we'll be able to see what the experts think and find out what the best version of the deck is. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. Because there's at least 3 different versions, maybe 4 that I can think of people running different cards, and enough different cards that it feels like a different version and not just replacing, you know, like what we tried, replacing locations with Viziers. Thrive in the Shadows is good. I guess, so you could hit Undying Allies, Mindseer, and you could hit Gravedigging or Shadow Word Undeath. Honestly, overall, I personally don't feel like it would be good, and I don't even want to test it, because you're having to spend 2 mana on it. And the games that we win, the games that we steamroll, it's where we're spending our mana, again, just putting minions on the board and dealing damage face, like hero power face, or, you know, again, just getting minions on the board or things like that. So I could definitely be wrong, but again, I personally don't necessarily feel like that's where it's at. Eric, appreciate you stopping by, man. It was definitely nice to see you. And hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you next time. And actually, on that note, I think that's actually going to do it for me. I'm going to be wrapping it up right here. I'm going to throw this deck code into the chat one more time for anybody that might be interested in it. Save you the trouble of having to try to put it together for yourself. But Undead Priest is performing really well. If you can make the deck, I would say definitely make it and play it. If you can't, don't craft anything, because some of these key cards are actually going to be rotating, like the Benedictus and the Void Touched Attendants. Could still be a deck after the rotation in the new set, we just don't know, but at this point I would say definitely do not craft. Kurt Hustle, like your stream, very entertaining and informative, Kurt. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate that. That's very, very generous, and that's all I can say. Thank you. To a certain extent, it leaves me a little bit speechless, but that's really awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. I actually think I'm probably going to be live streaming more, because I've kind of run into an issue where I think in January I made a bunch of guides on the decks that were in Standard, and not so much has changed that I want to go back and remake those guides. So I'm kind of in a place where I don't really have any videos that I want to make, but I am still playing Hearthstone, and so that might just actually turn into more live streams. And then I'm thinking, as we get into like the next set and the next rotation, it would probably still be a combination of live streams, but then I would go back to probably making guides on the relevant decks and things like that. So kind of a little bit in a little bit of limbo as a content creator about what I want to do, but live stream is definitely fun. I enjoy getting to talk to you guys. It's great. And it gives me a way to be able to fill my time. Because Hearthstone is my hobby, and I guess content creation is also my hobby. I actually really enjoy it. It's really fun, really cool. So, let's see. I was just working on my own similar deck and felt like although Thrive is good, it would be anti-tempo. So no, Card Sharp, I feel exactly the same way. But again, it's definitely worth testing. And if people don't actually get out and test this stuff, then like the community as a whole isn't going to know. Which is why we tried the Viziers. And again, like the 3 games I played them wasn't enough to draw a conclusion, but they just didn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, I don't know. It's probably just not good. But again, thank you so much. I'm glad you were here. Appreciate you spending at least a couple of minutes of your day with me. I'm going to be back with another live stream probably later this week. Not exactly sure when that's going to be, but I'm going to schedule it ahead of time. I don't know if you guys get a notification for that or what, but I will schedule that, when I get that ready. So thank you so much. I'm Uncorrupt. Good luck out on the ladder.